Hello there, and welcome back to the Bookshelf of Reviews, where these reviews are made by the children, for the children. I'm your host Cody, and this is the second episode. Today, I'm going to review this book called, hey, wait a minute, where is it? Wait, hold on for a minute, let me just try and find the book, so let's see. No, that isn't it. No, that definitely isn't it. Ah, here it is. Okay, so I'm going to review this book called The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer. I'm going to tell you what happened in the book, my opinions, and my final rating. So cue the music. I will now be talking about what happened in this book, but there will be spoilers, so it is best if you just skip ahead right around now. I am not going to ask if they're gone, let's just continue. The main premise of this book is that there are two siblings, Alex and Connor Bailey, who get gifted a storybook by their grandmother, but it turns out the book was actually magical, and it sucked the siblings into the Land of Stories, where fairy tale characters are real. When they land, they meet a frog named Froggy, who gives them a diary that says something about the wishing spell, which can grant any wish, which means that if they wish to go home, the wish will send them back there. We then get introduced to the main villain of this story, the Evil Queen from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, who wants to use the wishing spell for herself. And it is revealed that the spell can only be used twice, and it was used once before. It is now a race against time to see who will gather all 8 pieces of the spell, and who will use the spell. The twins or the Evil Queen. Along the way, the twins meet a lot of characters from fairy tales, including Cinderella, Snow White, The Little Mermaid, and even Goldilocks. But there was even more that they met that I haven't even mentioned. I will now skip ahead to near the ending of this book, when the twins have found all 8 parts of the spell. It seems like they're going back home, but the Evil Queen sent her wolves to find the twins and to bring them back to where she was. Once the wolves did what she told them to do, she decided to tell the twins of her backstory, and she told them that her lover was trapped inside her magic mirror. Then she took all of the twins' items and began to use the wishing spell herself, and told it to freeze the man in the mirror. The man was freed, and the mirror's glass was gone, but he spent so much time in the mirror that he died in her arms. Suddenly, the castle that they were standing in started to fall apart. The glass on the mirror started to reform, and it fell on top of the Evil Queen and her lover, and the glass fully reformed. Luckily, the twins were able to escape the collapsing castle. Later on, they had a meeting with the fairy godmother herself, who turned out to be their own grandmother. She revealed that she and their late dad were born in this fairy tale world, but their dad was able to use the wishing spell to get to the other world. Their fairy godmother was then able to create a doorway to get the twins back home, which means, like I said, they're finally be able to go back to their world. This concludes the first book in the Land of Stories series. I will now say what I think about this book by listing off some pros and cons. So I'll be starting off with the cons this time. I don't really like how the book's chapters jump between the twins and some other characters. For example, there was one chapter that, when it ended, I wanted to get back into the action to see what happened next. but it just jumped to another chapter with Goldilocks. I personally would have made it so that all the chapters with different characters are made as segments in like the regular chapters instead. And I also don't really like how the book's beginning is slow-ish, and it doesn't get to the whole land story part until chapter 5. I would have made it a little bit quicker, and that they would have gone to the land story in chapter 3 or so. Lastly, I don't really like how the book didn't have any major confrontation with the Evil Queen. I personally would have made it so that there was at least a teeny tiny fight between the twins and the Evil Queen. Now, I will talk about the pros. I really like how Chris Colfer describes how the landmarks look, like with the castles and all that such, and how he really used all of those descriptive adjectives. I also really like the personality that he gave all to all the characters. For example, I wasn't expecting Goldilocks to become a wanted thief, and how the Evil Queen was actually basically a good person before her lover got trapped in the magic mirror. Lastly, I really like how Chris Colfer kept some mystery behind to the storybook that the grandma gave the twins at the beginning. Like, for example, one question that the twins asked themselves is, did their grandma and dad go into the story themselves? I also really like how the front cover looks absolutely gorgeous. I would show you a picture, but of course you can't. In conclusion, The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell, is a really good book, and despite some of its flaws, I still think you should take it off the bookshelf and read it. I give it 7 parts of The Wishing Spell out of 8. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bookshelf of Reviews. I hope to see you next time.